네, 안녕하십니까.
Hello everyone.
볼륨 좀 더 주세요. 이렇게 교도관 여러분들 삶에 하나님 축복이 넘치기를 바라겠습니다.
I hope that the blessing of God will overflow in all of your lives.
특히 이번에 마인드 교육을 할 수 있어서 너무 감사하고요.
I'm so thankful that we are launching this mind education in
이
prisons.
교육이 여러분의 삶 그리고 이제 여러분의 가정 그리고 교도소 안에 모두에게 하나님 축복이 넘치기를 바라겠습니다.
I hope that this would bring about the blessing of God in your family, in your working place, in prisons as well.
제가 2009년에 미국에 중국에 있는 그 공산 청년단으로부터 초청을 받았습니다.
In 2009, I was invited by Chinese Youth League in China for mind education.
그때 그냥 저희들 IYF 제가 일을 하고 있었는데
Back then, we were working for IYF.
공산 청년단에서 초청을 받아 제가 2009년 12월 달에 제가 중국에 가서 이틀 동안 교육을 했습니다.
It was around December 2009. I gave mind lectures for 2 days in Chinese Youth League in China.
많은 신문에 나오고 방송에 나가게 되었습니다.
And our news was published on many newspapers and was broadcasted on many TVs.
중국의 한 출판사에 내한테 연락이 왔는데
And one publishing house in China accosted me and said
당신 메시지 너무 좋았다.
that the message was so good, they said,
책으로 좀 냈으면 좋겠다.
that we want to publish your messages into a book.
이틀 강의한 게 이렇게 책으로 내기 좀 양이 적으니까 책이 내되도록 좀 해달라고 했어요.
Your lectures that you've given for 2 days, they are not big enough. So if you could add more information to it, you can
그래서
publish
제가
it into a book.
중국의 그 출판 주기에서 제가 책을 나를 끌어왔는 누구냐는 책을 썼습니다.
That's how we came to write the book titled "Who Are You Dragging Me?"
그게 이제 그 한국의 베스트셀러가 되고
It became a bestseller in Korea.
그때부터 청소년 마인드 교육을 하기 시작했어요.
From then on, we actively began our education program for the youth.
이젠 전 세계가 현재 가장 심각한 게 청소년 마인드인데.
Nowadays, one of the major issues that the world faces today is the youth issue, the mind
저는
education
성경
issue.
속에서 마인드 세계를 배워가지고 마인드 교육을 해서
I learned this mind education from the Bible and
많은
educated,
청소년들을 어둠에서 건져낼 수가 있었고
and we were able to draw many young people out of the
그들을
darkness,
복되게 할 수 있는 좋은 기회가 됐습니다.
and we could make their life to be blessed and
그래서
happy.
너무너무 하나님 앞에 감사를 드립니다.
So I'm so thankful before God.
특별히 저희들이 케냐 대통령에게 은혜를 입었고
And by the grace of His Excellency President
우리 케냐
Kenyatta,
대통령께서 두 번이나 만나 주신 마인드 교육에 대해서 의논하셨고
His Excellency President Uhuru Kenyatta invited us twice, and we met him
이제
twice.
앞으로 전 세계 많은 나라에서 그 이제 교도관뿐 아니고
Not only jailers, but all the world around the world.
공무원 교육
We're going to begin the civil servant
마인드 너무
education
좋다 그걸 해달라고 부탁을 해가지고
because there are many countries where people are asking this mind
전
education
세계
program.
대통령의 초청을 받았습니다.
So we are being invited by many presidents around the
저 별거
world.
아닌 사람인데
Although I'm nobody actually,
분명히 해줬습니다.
but I became famous because of this
오늘 이
education.
교도관 여러분 너무 수고하시는데
I know you must be
이
hardworking,
마인드 조금 우리가 이야기할 수 있는 시간에 대해서 감사합니다.
but I'm so thankful that I could share this little bit about this mind education today.
제가 한 분은 한국에는 수원 교도소의 교무과장부터 전화를 받았습니다.
Once I got a phone call from the person who was in charge of education in prison in Suwon.
목사님 교도소에
In
좀
Korea.
와주시겠습니까?
Pastor, could you please come to Suwon prison?
내가 죄도 안 짓는데 왜 교도소라 그래요?
And I answered, I didn't even commit any crime. Why do I have to come to prison? I asked them.
그 수원 교도소의 교무과장님이 그 이제 제 방송 설교를 듣고
The chief of the education department in prison, he heard my
교도소한테 좀
broadcasting,
강의를 해달라는 그게 이제 교도 강의 처음이었습니다.
and he invited me for lectures in prison. That's how I came to be in prison for the
수원
first time.
교도소에 가면은 모범수를 구분하는 게 날란 벌을 한 마리씩 이렇게 그림이 달려있습니다.
In Suwon prison, to show that some of inmates are very exemplary and good behaving, they would give them this badge of B on their chest.
벌이 한 마리가 있으면 그건 이제 소대장입니다.
So if they have one B on their chest, they would be a captain of
두
a
마리가 있으면
company.
중대장이고
With 2 Bs, they would be captain of
세
platoon.
마리가 있으면 대대장입니다.
And if they have 3 Bs on their chest, then they would be captain of
수원교도
battalion.
규정은 벌 두 마리만 있으면
In Suwon prison, anyone with 2 Bs,
교도소 어디든지 다닐 수
they
있어요.
can go anywhere in the prison.
소대장은 혼자 못 다니고 소대장 둘이랑 두 마리가 되기 때문에 다닐 수 있어요.
But inmates with 1 B, they have to make a group of 2 so that they could have 2 Bs and move around the
제가
prison.
매주 월요일 날 오후마다 수원 교도소에서 교도사 그 안에 재수자들께 교육을 했습니다.
So every Monday afternoon, I went to prison and I had some studies with them.
아니 교무과장님이 너무 좋아해서 교무과장실 나에게 내주면 언제든지 마음대로 쓰라 그래. 늘 과장실에서 교육을 하고 했습니다.
The chief of the education department really appreciated my studies with them, and he gave his office so that we could do the studies in his
근데
office.
벌이 3마리가 달린 그 대대장이 있는데
But there was this inmate who had 3 bees on him.
이름은 유재용이었습니다.
His name was Yoo Jae-young.
너무 순한 거예요.
He was so kind and tender.
아주 사람이 친절하고 곱고
He was very kind and gentle.
그래서 이제 같이 이제 이야기를 하는데
So I talked to him.
어느 날 내 마음에 궁금한 마음이 생겼어요.
One day I became so curious to know.
이 사람 이렇게 착한 사람 무슨 죄를 지어서 여기 들어왔냐?
He's so good like this, but what brought him here in the prison?
얘는 그거 절대 질문하면 안 되는데
Actually, it's kind of rude to ask that question to the inmates.
궁금해서 물어봤어요.
But I was so curious, so I asked,
유재영 씨, 당신은 저 뭐 죄명이 뭐예요?
Mr. Yu, what is the title of your crime?
무슨 얼굴이 빨개지더라고요.
Without saying anything, kind of blushed and he put down his head. He put down his head.
살인의 살인미수입니다.
It's murder and attempted murder.
뭐라고?
What?
당신이 사람을 죽이고
You murdered somebody?
또 죽이려다 잡혔어요.
You attempted murder and you got caught?
내가 보기에는 파리하면 못 죽일 것 같은데
In my eyes, you're not even courageous enough to kill a fly.
저는 막 그날 너무 참 내가 질문해서 안 듣게 했구나.
That day, I kind of regretted. I shouldn't have asked the question.
그날은 그렇게 지나갔어요.
But we just let go like that.
그래 이제 한 얼마 지난 뒤에
But a little while later,
둘이 또 거기서 한번 만났는데
we got a chance to talk again.
자기가 그 살인하게 된 이야기를 하다가
He began to share the story of how he came to commit murder.
이제 결혼하고 직장 거야 뭐 괜찮은 직장 다니면서 두 아이를 놓고 행복하게 살았어요.
After his marriage, he got a job and he was working relatively good with his wife.
근데 그 아내가 뭔지 모르게 자기를 속이는다는 그런 감각을 자꾸 갖게 됐어요.
But from some day, he got this impression that his wife was cheating on him.
뭔지 뭐 아내가 나를 속이는 것 같다, 속이는 것 같다.
He didn't know what it was, but he kind of felt that his wife was cheating on him.
근데 어느 날 뭘 알았냐면은
But one day he came to discover
아내가 이제 댄스장에 춤추러 다니더라.
that his wife was going to dance in dancing room.
케냐 사람 이런 얘기하면 좀 뭐 잘 이해 안 가는지 모르겠지만
I don't know if it's you may not be able to understand this because it's a cultural issue.
제가 처음에 케냐 갔을 때 제 호텔에 합창단들이 와서 노래를 불렀어요.
When I first went to Kenya, our choir in our mission they went to the hotel and they
한국
sang the
사람 그냥
song.
노래만 부르는데
In Korea, when people sing, they just
케냐
sing.
막 춤을 추는 노래 부르는데
But when we sing in Kenya, people they began to dance.
그 단장이 나도 같이 춤추러 가 춤을 췄는데
And the people invited me to dance too, so I danced with them.
직구전 목사님 그거 딱 카메라 찍었어.
Some people they took the picture of me dancing,
제 아내를 보여줬는데
and they showed him the picture of me
스텝이 하나도 안
dancing.
맞더라고요.
Then my wife kind of made fun of me, saying his step is not good.
근데 케냐 사람들은
But you know, people in Kenya,
아래 딱 북소리가 나면은
and whenever they hear the drum sound,
손이 올라가면서
they will put up their hands like this, and they will begin to shake their body and they will
근데
dance, right?
진짜 그 케냐 사람 추는 춤은 굉장히 좋은 춤이에요.
But you know, the dance of the Kenyan, they're so innocent and so good.
어떤 아줌마는 아기를 업고 이렇게 춤을 추는데
Once I saw a lady, you know, carrying a baby on her back,
아기 머리가 뭐가
and the baby's head was, you know, shaking like this.
거기에 다칠까
And I was
겁나.
afraid that the neck of the baby may break.
근데 그들은 진짜 케냐 춤이 삶의 한
You
부분이에요.
know, I know that this dance is a part of their culture, their
때로
life.
근심된 일이 있고
Sometimes when they have worries,
아이가 말라리아
and if
걸렸거나
their children catch malaria,
생길
if they have some
때
anxiety,
마음에 많은 근심을 하다가
they may have these worries in their heart.
북소리가
But when
나면
they hear this drum sound,
손이 올라가서 춤을
they'll
추죠.
begin to dance and shake up those worries out of their hearts.
처음에 케냐 사람 춤을 췄는데
You know, it was my first time dancing with those
제
Kenyans.
안에 뭐 당연히 스텝 하나도 안 맞는데
And my wife made fun of me saying, your steps are not good when you dance.
케냐 사람들이 추는 춤은
But the dance of Kenyans,
아주 건전한 그 삶의 일부예요.
it is very sound and good. And you know, so it's a part of their culture. As they dance, they shake off those
누가 살다
worries.
어려움이 있고 문제가 있게 마련이잖아.
Because everybody has their own or his own problems, right?
한국 사람은 춘다 그러면 약간 이미지가 안 좋아.
But in Korean culture, when you say you dance, it's not like that
그렇게
good.
춤추는 게 아니고
Because dancing is not really part of our culture.
여자가 낯선 밀실에서
Because in a closed area, a lady
춤을 추는 거
holding
보면
hands with some, a strange man, dancing.
약간 그 죄악이 많이
So in
일어나고.
Korean culture, it's more related to, sin.
이 남자는 진짜 착하고 착실한 사람.
So this man, he was so gentle and kind.
근데 이 사람이 어떻게 했냐면은
But one day, what he did was,
아내가 춤을 추러 다닌 거 알았어.
he came to discover that his wife was going to dance.
자기가 계속 뭘 속였는지 나중에 알고 춤추러 다닌 거 알았어.
Because he could feel that his wife was cheating on him, but he didn't know what it was. But later he
아내와 남편
discovered.
사이 싫어 나빠지겠어.
And that way, the relationship between him and his wife
자기
got
아내가
worse.
어떤 빈 방에 가서 낯선 남자하고 손을 잡고 춤춘다는 게 영 마음에 안 맞아.
When he thought about his wife going into a room and dancing with a strange man, he couldn't really let that happen.
여러 번 싸웠어.
Many times he quarreled with his wife,
아내가 춤추는 게 중단이 안 되는 거야.
but she wouldn't stop.
6개월이 지나고
6 months passed,
1년이 지나고
1 year passed.
사실 어려움이 많았어.
So this brought about hardship in the household.
근데 어느 날 새로운 사실을 알게 된
One day he
것은
came to discover a new fact.
아내 언니가 바로 이웃에 사는데
It was that the older sister of his wife was living in the neighborhood.
아내 춤추러 가기 싫은데 아내 언니가 춤추러 데리고 다닌다는 거야.
And he came to realize that it wasn't her own will, but it was her older sister who brought her to the dancing room.
그 사람이 그 이제 사실을 알았어요.
So he came to discover this fact.
아내 언니 집을 참 문을
So
두드렸어요.
he came to the house of her older sister.
근데 아내 언니는 좀 아주 잘 사는 사람이고 자기가 못 사니까
And the older sister of his wife was living well.
늘 자기를 참 무시한 그런 경우가 있는
And
거야.
as he was not living well, so she used to despise him a lot.
아내 언니한테 가서 얘기했어요.
Now he came to see the sister-in-law.
제발 우리 사람 데리고 좀 다니지 마세요.
I want you to stop taking my wife to the dancing room.
이야기를 했어요.
And he said to that.
서로 감정이 안 좋지요.
But they were not, really close.
근데 그 언니란 사람이 아주 경멸한 이야기를 했어요.
Now, sister-in-law said something which was very offending.
네가 뭔데?
What are you
내 동생 데다 고생시키는 주제에
to tell me that you are making my sisters to suffer in your house?
알고 이래라 저래라 그래.
What are you to tell me to this or
내가
that?
네 말을 들어야
Do
돼.
I have to listen to your word?
이 순간에 이 사람 머리가 빙 돌았어.
At that moment, he lost his senses
너무 충격적인 소리를 들은 거야.
because he heard something very offensive,
생각이 하나도 안 나요.
and he couldn't remember what happened.
무슨 일이 났는지 몰라.
Couldn't remember what happened.
근데 뭐 자기 손에 칼이 들려져 있고
But when he got back to his senses, he saw
칼 끝에 피가 묻어 있고
he saw a knife in his hand. It was all covered in
언니가
blood,
거기 쓰러져 있는 거야.
and he saw his sister-in-law, collapsed on the floor.
순간 정신이 바짝 든 거야.
At that moment, he got back to his senses.
내가 처형을 죽였구나.
Oh, I killed my sister-in-law.
막 칼을 들고 받고 나서.
And carrying the knife, he went outside.
죽고 나와 다 죽일 거야.
Like, everyone in the house, come out, I'll kill you all.
경찰에 체포가 됐어.
And the policeman came and arrested him.
그래서 이분이 교도소에 들어와.
That's how he was put into prison.
교도 왔는데 얼마 뒤에 변호사가 왔어요.
Later, the lawyer came.
나 필요 없다고.
I don't need you, he said.
나 죽으면 그만해. 무슨 변호가
And
필요해.
if I die, that's all. I don't need a lawyer.
이제 살 길도 없어.
Look, I'm not even qualified to live my own life.
변호 돌아갔어요.
So the lawyer went back.
그다음 며칠 후에 다시 왔어.
A couple of days later, the lawyer came back. And he sent him
나
away
죽겠다.
again.
나
I'm gonna die. Let me alone. Leave me alone.
세 번째 변호사 왔어.
The third time the lawyer came,
변호 소리 질러.
the lawyer shouted at him,
유재영 씨,
Mr. Yu,
내가 뭐 변호비 몇 푼 받으려고 온 줄 알아?
do you think I'm here to make some money as I defend you?
당신 변호비 다 해도 막걸리 한 잔 값도 안 돼.
Even if I defend for you, I'm not gonna get a lot of money.
젊은 사람, 내가 불쌍해 내가 완 것이.
I'm trying to defend you because I'm trying to defend you because I feel sorry that you are still young, but I want you to go through all this hardship.
인간이 저래.
Now, how can you behave like
내가
that?
뭐 돈 받아 온 거 줄 알아?
I'm not here for money.
당신 생명 살려주려고 하는 거다.
I'm here to save you.
조용히 했어.
And Mr. Yu, he said, now he kept his quiet.
그 변호사 얘기했어요.
And the lawyer said,
조용히 앉아.
he sat down.
앉았어.
And Mr. Yu sat down too.
변호를 해줬어요.
And he defended for him.
사형은 면했어요.
He was not sentenced to death.
그래서 20년 형을 받고
He was sentenced to 20 years of imprisonment.
교도에 들어왔어요.
And now he was put into prison.
내가 20년 뒤에 교도소를 나가면
20 years later, if I get out of this prison,
50살이 훨씬 넘는데
I'll be more than 50 years old.
누가 살인수인 나에게 직장 주겠나?
Who would give me a job? Me, who am one of former criminal.
내가 늙어서 나와 직장 없이 어떻게 내가 살지?
Being that old, having no job, how can I make my own
나
living?
어차피 인생 버린 인생.
My life is ruined anyway.
내가 나가서 그것들 다 다 복수하고
once I get out, I'm gonna take my vengeance. I'm gonna kill
다
them
이렇게
all.
만든 인생 다 복수. 나도 그 자리에 죽을 거야.
I'm gonna destroy their life
내가
as they
그때
ruined my
죽어야
life.
죽은 게 아니다.
It's I regret that I didn't kill myself that day.
그런 마음을 가졌어.
So that was the kind of heart he
근데
had.
이제 무슨 생각냐면
But now,
내가 좀 빨리 나가야 일하지.
he was trying to get out as soon as possible.
그러니까 막 진짜 모범수가 된 거야.
So he behaved himself so that he would be recognized as a good
빨리
inmate.
나가면
Because when he's recognized as a good
그
inmate,
나를 이렇게 만든 인생 전부 다 죽여버려.
his sentence may be reduced. So he was trying to get out as soon as possible.
내가 울며 그 얘기하더라.
So that was the story that he shared with me.
말했어.
I said to him,
왜 너 한쪽으로만 생각을 해?
why do you just think about one side of it?
야, 너 긍정적인 것만 좀 생각을 해.
Hey, try to have some positive thoughts.
네가 네 아들이 대학을 졸업할 때
Imagine if your son graduated from the university.
꽃 한 송이 달고 가서 야 축하한다.
If you give him a bouquet of flowers and say, hey, congratulations.
너 아들에게 얼마나 힘이 되겠냐?
How much strength and energy that will give your son?
너 아들이 결혼할 나이가 되어서 여자친구를 사귈 때
And when your son is about to get married,
야, 내가 너 여자친구 딴 놈 호텔에서 식사 한번 사줄 테니까 데려와라.
if you tell your son, okay, bring me your girlfriend, I can buy you some nice dinner in a nice hotel.
여자친구 우리 저 면에서 뭐야 나는 뭐 잘 살지 못한 우리 집와 고생할 것 같다.
And if you could tell your daughter-in-law to
내가
be
저녁 한 그릇 사줄 수
that
있다.
can I buy you some nice dinner with
그런
you?
게 자식들에게 얼마나 큰 기쁨이 된 줄 아느냐.
When you do things like that for your own children, you know how much that encouraged their heart?
그래야지 문제는 뭐냐면
So now the problem was,
큰 일을 저지르는 사람들은
after having committed those big
생각
crimes,
한쪽에 거기에 생각이 빠져버려.
their hearts gets narrower and they don't tend to think a
그
lot.
절망적으로 전부 다 절망인데.
And they tend to take this path of despair and they just fall into despair.
그냥 소망 가지고 얼마나 살 수 있는 거야.
But if they can still make their life with hope in their hearts,
놀라운 것은
what is amazing is
그날 마음을 바뀌었어.
that day he changed his mind.
그리고 그 20몇 년 징역을 살고
And after living 20 years of his sentence in prison,
교도소에 나왔어.
he got out of the prison.
예수님 믿는 착실한 사람.
He became a good believer of
교도소
Christ.
계속 성경 공부하다가
And I went on with the Bible studies in prison.
아내는 교도소에 오고 바로 며칠 안 돼서 이혼 서류 도장식 사인해주고요.
As soon as he got into the prison, he had divorced with his wife.
어디 사는지 모르고
He didn't know where she was living.
그래서 다시 이제 어떤 여자를 만났어.
Now that she got out, he began to go out with one woman, and they were coming to our church,
너무너무 지금 행복하게
and they are now living happily.
물론 교도 출신들 취직이 잘 안 되니까
Of course, for those who have been to prison, they cannot easily
개인
get
사업을
their
굉장히
job,
성실하게 하고
and he's very diligent in his personal
왜냐하면
business.
지금 너무너무 이렇게 다르게 사는 거예요.
And he's still coming to the church, and his life is very different than before.
사람들이 모든 걸 결정하는 생각인데
What makes the decision is their thoughts.
내가 절망적인 것만 바라보면 절망적인 것밖에 없고
If you look at only the despair of their life, they will fall into despair.
소망적인 걸 봐 소망적인 일이 너무 많은 거예요.
If you look at the hope of their life, they have a lot of hopes.
예를 들어서 지금 그 나이 암 걸린 사람도 많고
For instance, people of his age, there are people who got cancer and who are
그다음에
dying.
자기 개인 뭐 조그마한 일을 하고 있는데
He was running his own small business.
지금 성실하게 너무 잘 살고 행복하게 사는 거예요.
He's working diligently and he's
새로
making his
아이들도
life,
낳았고요.
and he has new children now.
그 이제 딸이 이번에는 간호사가 돼가지고 병원에 취직을 하고
And I heard that his daughter became a nurse, and she's working in a
그 전에
hospital.
있던 악몽 다 잊어버리고
He forgot about all those nightmares that he had before, and he's living a bright life now.
죄송해요. 교도관 여러분들께 이런 얘기 죄송합니다.
I'm sorry to tell you this, you who are jailers.
혹시라면 교도관이 싫으면
If you don't want to be a jailer,
목사하십시오.
you can work as a pastor too.
목사가 제일 재밌거든요.
I think pastor is very good to work too.
정말 그 어렵고 고생하고 어둠 있는 사람들에게
People are living in darkness and despair.
여러분 사람의 마음이 많은 상자라고 생각하면
You know, if you could think of the heart of man as a box,
상자에 굉장히 많은 여러 가지 마음이 들어있는
there are
거예요.
many types of heart put in that box.
바보들 술 마시면 늘 술 생각만 해서
But those who drink, they would only think about drinks, and they will fall
생각을
into that.
바꿔주는 거예요.
What we do is we try to turn their thought
이게
upside down.
마인드예요.
That is the mind education.
생각을 얼마든지 바꿀 수가 있는 거예요.
Because we can change our thoughts still.
한국 아이들 내가 자주 이런 이야기 하는데
And I talk about this oftentimes with the young people in Korea.
노래를 불러요.
They would sing.
원숭이 둥둥이는 빨갛다.
We have this song in Korea, the buttocks of the monkey is red.
맞아요.
Right? Is that true?
맞아요.
right?
그 다음에 빨간 것은 사과.
And what is red is the apple.
여러분 원숭이 궁둥이하고 사과는 진짜 안 맞는 건데 갖다 붙이는 거 붙는 거예요.
But the buttocks of the monkey and the apple, they have nothing to do. They have nothing in common. But when you try to relate it, there's a common point, right?
사과는 맛있다.
The apple is sweet.
맛있는 건 바나나.
What is sweet is the banana.
바나나는
The
길다.
banana is long.
긴 건 기차.
What is long is the train.
기차는
The
빠르다.
train is fast.
빠른 건 비행기.
What is fast is the airplane.
비행기는 높다.
The airplane is high.
높은 건 백두산.
What is high is the mountain.
아이도 그런 노래를 불러요.
The children, they sing that song.
다 정말 원숭이 똥구멍하고 궁둥이하고 사과는 정말 다르지만 색깔로 맞는 부분이 있고.
The buttocks of the monkey and the apple, they are not related. But if you try to find a common point, they match in the color.
사과하고 바나나하고는 진짜 달라요.
The apple and the banana, they're so different.
사과는 빨갛고
But the apple is red,
바나나는 노랗고
the banana is yellow.
사과는 둥글고.
You know, the apple is round, the banana is long.
근데 거기서 같은 걸 찾으면
But if you try to find a common point,
맛있는 건 공통되지.
you can say that both of them they're tasty, they're good.
기차하고 바나나 너무 달라요.
The banana and the train, they're so different.
그런데
But
그것도 연관성이 기다란 거는 연결하면 연결이 되는 거예요.
But banana is long fruit among the fruit, and train is also long. You can still find this common
맞죠?
point, right?
기차가 빠른데
The train is fast.
기차하고 비행기는 하늘에 나르고 기차는 땅에 가는데 다르죠.
You know, the train flies in there, the train goes on the
다른
ground.
것으로는 공통된
But
거예요.
in terms of the speed, they're both fast.
다음에 비행기하고 백두산하고는 아주 거리가 다른데
And the mountain and the plane, they're so different too.
다른 건 같이 만나요.
But they're both high.
그 마음의 세계 안에서
Just like that, in the world of the heart,
긍정적으로 생각을 연결하면
if you try to connect your thought to the positive thought again and again and again, you have the positivity, and positivity again.
만약 부정 연결하면은
On the other hand, if you try to connect your negative things and negative things and negative things,
그 어떤 사람들은 봤던 뭘 그안 돼. 부정적인 이야기만 하는 사람들.
that's why there are people who only talk about negative things in their life.
어떤 사람은 예를 들어서 그 긍정적으로 받아들이는 사람.
But there are people who know how to accept things in a positive way.
이제 현재 서울은
In Seoul, currently, which is the capital of Korea,
서울의 인구가 1,000만 명입니다.
in Seoul, the capital of Korea, we have 10 million population living in Seoul City.
자동차 500만 대가 돼.
But we have about 5 million cars running in Seoul
서울은
City alone.
1.8명당 자동차가 한대.
So we estimate that about every 1.8 people, they have a car.
웬만한 가정에 자동차 2대.
Which means usually in a household, in a family of 4, there are usually 2 cars.
처음에 한국이 자동차를 만들 때
When we first manufactured car in Korea,
미국이 자동차를 만들었고
back then, you know, we had US in the car industry, with Germany in car industry, Japan in car industry, Italy in car industry.
한국은 자동차를 안 만들었어.
But Korea was not, you know, manufacturing cars before.
그러다 어느 날 한국에서 막 빠르게 이제 발전돼 가기 시작했어.
But as things were getting developed in Korea,
한국이 발전되기 시작하면서
as things were getting developed in Korea,
앞으로 10년쯤 지났을 때
people they began to estimate that in 10 years time,
마이카 시대가 온다.
they expected that my car generation would come.
우리 한 집에 자동차 한 대라고 해.
That every house would have at least one car.
자동차가 수천만 대가 돼.
Now we would have tens of thousands of cars.
외국에 사온 돈이 못 들다.
But if we're to buy that from foreign countries, let us spend a lot of money.
우리 자동차를 만들자.
So they said to one another, why don't we build our own
그런
cars?
이야기가 났어요.
That's what they said.
에이, 그게 자동차 만들.
But there was a people were saying, oh, how can you build the cars? We can't. We don't have the skills.
한국 그렇게 생각.
That's how people thought in Korea.
한국 그 자동차 못 만들.
We cannot build our own cars.
근데 가만히 생각해 봤어요.
But they kept thinking about it.
자동차 말고 다 만들어서 엔진을 못 만드는.
You know, even if they make every part of the car, but they cannot make engine.
그래서 자동차 엔진이 필요한데.
Oh, we need the engine of the car. How can you make the engine? Oh, I've got a good idea.
생각하던 나오는 거예요.
As they thought about it, they got a good idea.
일본은 자동차 잘 만들고.
In Japan, they make good cars.
일본에 가서 엔진을 사가지고 자동차.
We can maybe import, you know, engines from Japan and equip our car with it.
그거 좋겠다.
Oh, that's a good idea.
자동차 회사에서 이제 일본을 찾아서.
So from the car company, the CEO visited
안녕하세요.
Japan. Hello.
예, 어서 오세요.
Hello, welcome.
어떻게 오셨어요?
What brought you here?
우리가 자동차 공장을 만드는.
The Korean CEO said we built our own car factories in Korea.
자동차 쉽지 않아요.
You know, car industry, it's not easy at all. I'm telling
엔진 만드는 건
you.
어려워요.
Making engines is
안 돼요.
hard. I'm telling you, it's not going to work easily.
아, 예, 그렇습니다.
Yeah, we know that, we
그래서
we
우리가
admit.
일본에서 엔진 사과의 차를 만들면 어떻습니까?
So what if we buy engines from Japan and make our car with it?
좋죠.
Oh, that's a good idea.
좋아요.
That's a good idea. We can buy engines from us.
엔진 팔 수 있으니까.
They liked it because they could sell their engines now.
근데 우리 엔진 만드는 가르쳐 줄래요?
But the Korean CEO suggested if we buy engines from you, you should teach us how to build engines later. Oh, that's okay.
그래서 이제 일본 가서 엔진 사과의 차를 만들었어요.
They made a deal and Koreans began to buy engines from Japan.
1년쯤 지났어요.
About 1 year later,
안녕하십니까?
the Korean CEO went to Japan again.
오셨죠?
Oh, hello. Okay, what brought you here?
지금 좀 엔진 만드는 거 가르치면 좋겠는데.
I think it's about time you told us how to build engines.
안 돼요.
You know, you got a long way to go. You cannot build engines yet.
예, 죄송합니다.
I'm sorry. We'll come back later. He came back.
1년 뒤에 다시 갔어요.
1 year later, he went there again.
아직 안 돼요.
You know, you have a long way to go. You cannot build engines yet. You should wait. Okay, I'm sorry.
3년 뒤에 갔어요.
The third year, he
한국
went.
아직 안 돼요.
You cannot build the engines again.
가르쳐 보세요.
Please teach us how to build the engine.
안 돼요.
It's not the time yet.
우리가 만들어 볼게요.
Okay, then we'll try on our own.
무엇이?
What?
당신들이 만든 엔진으로 자동차 굴러갈 수 있다고 생각을 해요?
Do you think the car equipped with your engine could run?
사람이 볼펜을 펴냈어요.
Then this Korean CEO took out his note and
당신들이 만든
pen
엔진으로 자동차 굴러갈 수 있다고 생각해요.
and wrote down what the Japanese CEO said. Oh, the car equipped with your engine could run. Ha ha ha. He wrote it down. Okay.
우리가 만든 엔진으로
You know, the car equipped with our engine.
자동차 굴러가나 봅시다.
We will see whether our car is going to run or not. Okay, see you later.
한국에 왔습니다.
And he came back to Korea.
지금도 저 집합에
Okay, assemble all the
볼펜
employees.
끄집어내
You take out your pen
노트에 쓰고
and write it down.
당신들이 만든 자동차 엔진으로
Do you think the car equipped with your engine
자동차 굴러갈 수 있다고
could
생각하는
run?
하하
Ha 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 ha.
전부 다 베개 붙여.
Everybody put that on, put it up on
그
wall.
자동차 엔진 개발팀을 만들었어요.
And they formed the team which developed the engine.
그래서 엔진 뜯어보니까
Now they disassembled Japanese engine.
너무 쉬운 거예요.
It was not that hard.
피스톤 있고
It has pistons,
실린더
it
있고
has cylinders,
그다음에 전기장치 있고
it has some electronic devices.
한국이 엔진을 만들었어요.
Now this engine development team, they built their own engine.
너무 좋았어요.
And they were so excited.
그걸 이제 자동차에 딱 얹었어요.
Now they loaded it in the car.
기름을
They put the gas.
시동을 푹
They started the car.
차가 쫙
The
나가니까
car was running so well.
이야 우리도 막 그럼
Yes, we succeeded, and they hugged one another. They were so happy.
하도 어렵잖아요.
It wasn't that hard.
이제 한국은 그렇게 하는 게 아니고
But
미국의 자동차를 팔아먹어야겠는데.
that's not where they ended, but they began to think again. We should sell our cars to
한국이 제일
US.
늦게 자동차 공장을 시작했는데.
Because Korea was the last one to join the car
그러니까
industry.
4대 자동차 강국이에요.
But today, Korea became the fourth biggest car industry in the world.
미국의 자동차를 팔려면은
To sell our cars to US.
미국은 인건비가 비싸.
Because in US, the manpower is very
자동차
expensive.
수리비가 많이 드는데
If the car breaks down, oftentimes it's going to cost a lot of money for them.
고장 안 난 차를 만들면 되는데
So what if we build a car that doesn't break down?
고장 안 나면 참 고장 안 나면
How can you build a car that doesn't break down?
생각했어.
They thought about it.
어떻게 고장 안 난 차가 있어요?
You know, how can you make a car that doesn't break down? That's
아니야,
impossible.
그럴 수가 있어.
No, we can work on it. We can try to think about it. Okay, I've got a good idea. Okay, I've got an idea now. What is it?
자동차 부품 판매 가서
You know, we can go to the sales department, which sells the car parts.
제일 팔리는 부품이 어떤 것인지.
We can try to research on what is the parts that are sold the most among car parts. They try to get the list of
제일
it.
많이 팔리는 부품은
The part of the car that is sold the most,
고장이 제일 많이 난 거.
it means that is the particular part that breaks down the most, right?
그래서 1번에서 제일 많이 팔수 20번까지
So they got this list of top 20 parts of the car that are sold the most.
찾아냈어요.
So they found these 20 parts of the car.
이 부서 왜 고장이 나는지.
And they began to do the research on why this part keeps breaking down. They did research on it again and again and again.
그러고 난 뒤에
After that,
자동차 고장이 안 나요.
the car wouldn't break down again.
너무 좋았어요.
It was so good.
이제 미국에 자동차를 팔면서
As they sold their car to US,
다른 회사는 미국에 자동차 팔 때 새 차를 사면은
for other car companies, when the customer buys a new
2년
car,
동안 애프터 서비스를 줘요.
they will only provide 2 years of after service for free.
그리고 2만 마일까지.
And also, they will give the warranty of 20,000 miles.
현대가 미국 자동차팔 뭐라고 말하는지
But
알아요?
now, as Hyundai, the Korean car company, as they got into the U.S.
미국
market,
시민 여러분,
what they did was, dear citizens of U.S., please buy Hyundai cars.
10만 마일까지,
We'll give you a warranty of 100,000
그리고
miles.
10년까지.
We'll give you a warranty of 10 years of after service for free.
깜짝 놀랐어요.
The customers were surprised.
샀어요.
And they bought cars.
10년 동안 고장이 안 나요.
For 10 years, it wouldn't break down.
그 무슨 일이 난지 아십니까?
You know what happened as a consequence?
만약 여러분들이 서울에 오시면
If you have a chance to visit Seoul,
아침 먹고
after breakfast,
하루 종일 다니면 서울
you should take a walk around the city of Seoul.
자동차 정비 공장 찾아보세요.
You should try to find a garage in Seoul.
없어요.
You can hardly find any.
옛날 골목마다 있었는데
Before that, we had garages in every corner.
다 문 닫았어요.
But most of them, they are closed today.
그래서 그 자동차 저희들도 한국 자동차 사면은
So in Korea, if you buy cars,
10년 동안 거의 고장이 나요.
for 10 years, it will hardly break
서로
down.
받아가지고 고장 나요.
Unless they have an accident and car crash.
겨울에는 눈이 막 미끄러져 고장 나겠죠.
Maybe in winter time as they drive, maybe it gets snowy and it gets slippery. Maybe that's why it breaks down sometimes.
어디에도 고장 나요.
But nowhere in Seoul you can hardly find those garage.
제가 이제 서울에 아이와이프 캠프를 하면서
Once we held our camp in Seoul,
학생들이 전 세계에서 많이 왔어요.
many students they came from around the world,
현대는
and I said to them during the lecture time,
5점 얼마 몇 분만 차가 한 대씩 만나.
every couple seconds they will make a car,
그거 만든다고 그렇게 얘기를 해요.
and I told them that.
근데 아프리카 온 학생이 에이 어떻게 그 차를 이렇게 만들어요?
There was a student from Africa. He said, "How is that possible? How can you make a car in a couple of seconds?"
제가 사무실에 현대자동차 전화를 했어요.
So we called the Hyundai company in Korea.
우리 학생들이 그 자동차 현대자 견학 가려고 갈 수 있느냐?
We want to visit, the factory in Hyundai factory, but can we pay a visit?
몇 명이냐?
How many are you?
3,000명이.
We are 3,000 students.
안 된다.
Oh, that's so many of you.
하루에 500명씩.
The maximum number is 500 students per day.
그래서 우리가 현대 자동차 갔어요.
So we visited those, Hyundai car company.
자동차 밑에서 만들고.
They will make the car from other, different factories.
위에 이제 이렇게 도를 만들 그 자동차 만들 구경하고 갈 수 있어요.
They put this rail in, they will hang it in there, and they will see the part of the car moving slowly.
자동차 컨베이어 벨트가 있는데
And they have this conveyor belt.
제 위에 현대차 바디를 하나 올려.
They'll place the body on the top.
첫째 사람 밑에 전선 깔고.
The first person will put electric wires and put the cover on it.
그다음에 이제 의자.
The second person will put seats.
의자도 로봇가 탁 들어 놓고 툭툭툭툭.
Even those seats is put by robot arms, tuk 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 and tuk tuk tuk.
다음 거.
And it will be passed to the next
그다음에
person.
뭐다 문짝 달고.
And they'll put
그다음에
doors.
바퀴 달고.
Foreign person will put wheel,
달고.
and they'll put engine.
그게 한 150m쯤 긴.
It's about 150 meters long. The belt
오는 동안에
to come all the way to the end.
차가 다 만들어져요.
At the end of the belt, they will see the complete car.
끝에서 한 2-3분 만에 차가 하나씩 오는 거예요.
And after 1-2 minutes later, they will see cars coming again.
그래서 보고 깜짝 놀랐어요.
And they were surprised.
아직 기름 푹 넣어.
In the end, they'll put the gas.
그러면 이제 잠사 딱 그래가 막왱 달려가 이제 그 자동차 그 야외 직장에 갔다.
And they'll start the car, they'll drive the car to the dock where they keep the car.
그러니까 보기 전에는 상상도 못
So
했는데
before seeing that, they could not imagine how it was done.
보면 그게 이해가 가는데
But when they came to discover that, they could understand why.
자동차 만든 우리는 모르지만
So we who are not good at making cars, we don't know.
날마다 자동차 생각합니다.
But if you keep thinking about making cars,
제가 저 예를 들어 말라위 같은 나라 가보니까
they can come up with those good ideas. When I once
말라위에
visited,
옥수수를 많이 심는데
once I visited a country named Malawi, they plant a lot of
말라위 그
corns.
강이 굉장히 좋은 호수가 있어요.
In Malawi, they have a nice big river,
그
lake.
물이 너무 많아요.
In the lake, they have a lot of water.
말라위는 가면 해마다 가물어서 옥수수가 흉내되고 사람들이 굶었대요.
But I heard that in Malawi, they have this famine because they have all the corns they would wither.
제가 늘 가면 그 생각했어요.
Each time I visited Malawi, I thought about it.
강물 그저 펌프 가지고 산 꼭대기를 올려가지고.
In Malawi we have good, water. We can buy this water pump. We
위에
put it on the
가면
top of the
내려가면 제대로
mountain.
내려가잖아요.
If you put it from the top of the mountain, if you draw water,
밤마다 이거 물이 들어가면은.
and if you put this water road, and if you provide those water to every field, even in the famine, they'll be able to provide water for every field of the
내가
corn.
그 전문가이란 안에 정말 그거 해주고 싶었어요.
Because I'm not an engineer, I could not suggest them that, but I wanted to really do
아프리카에서
that.
보면 이거 이렇게 하면 잘할 수 있어 그런 생각이 많이 나요.
So many times as I visit Africa, there are many ideas that I get.
한국 사람, 아프리카 사람 머리가 더 좋은 게 아니에요.
It's not that Koreans are smarter than Africans.
다만 일을 시작했고,
But it's just that when they begin
하니까
things,
연구가 되고,
when they keep on going,
발달하는 동안에
they have some
그렇게
ideas and they
되는
apply it and they will get a good result.
거예요. 사고라는 게 굉장히 중요해요.
So the thinking ability is very important.
그래서 여러분 우리가 사고하는 삶을 사는 게 아주 중요해요.
So living the life of thinking, it's very important.
그래서 저는 청소년들 사고하는 법을
So
가르쳤어요.
I taught the young people how to think.
제 아들이 예를 들어서 자랐는데,
For instance, when my son was
제
young,
딸은 그라시 합창단 단장이고요.
my daughter is the conductor of the Krasha's
딸은
choir.
미국에서 현재 뉴욕에서 목회를 하고 있어요.
My son is currently doing his ministry in New York,
그
in
아이들이
US.
6살, 7살 때
When my children were only 6, 7 years old,
아이들의 생각을 자기 멋대로 하지 않기 위해서
the kids, because they want to do whatever they want in order to control
제
that.
아이들의 생각을 컨트롤 해주고 싶어요.
I wanted to control the thoughts, the mind of my
아이들은
kids.
아빠한테 뭐라고 얘기해요?
My kids would tell me,
아빠 아이스크림,
Papa, we want some ice cream.
아빠 사탕.
We want some candies.
그래요.
Okay.
아이들 사탕 사줄 수 있어요.
I can buy them some candies.
아이스크림 사줄 수
I
있어요.
can buy them some ice creams.
아이들이 굉장히 좋아해요.
If I buy them for them, they will be so
내가 생각해
happy.
얘들이 지금은 사탕 아이스크림이지만
Okay, now they are young, they would require ice creams and candies.
15살 돼도 사탕 아이스크림 할
But if
거예요.
they turn 15 years old, would they still
살 돼도
ask ice
그럴까요?
creams and candies when they turn 20?
25살 되면
When they turn 25?
커지는데
No, what they desire would get bigger too.
자동차 사주세요.
Later they will be asking a car.
분명히 그럴 거예요.
They'll be asking for a car later,
내가
right?
전차 안 사주면 아이들이 서스파이스.
And if I don't buy them a good car, they'll be disappointed.
아이들 생각을 좀 이렇게 다 풀어놓는 게 아니고
So I shouldn't just let their thoughts just move around as they want,
이제 그 자제할 수 있는
but the ability of self-control.
그런 게 필요한 거예요.
They need that.
그래서 일부러 자제력을 가르치기 시작했어요.
So intentionally, I began to teach them what the self-control is.
오늘 아빠 사탕,
One day they would go like, "Oh, Papa, we want some
맞아요.
candies. I'll buy them candies.
아빠 아이스크림,
Papa, we want some ice creams.
아이스크림?
Ice cream? You said?
오늘은 안 돼.
Okay, not today.
아빠,
Oh, Dad.
아니 오늘은 안 돼.
Not today, I said.
아빠,
Oh, Dad.
아빠가 안 된다 했어.
Your daddy said no.
왜?
Why?
지가 아이스크림 먹고 싶은 마음 자제할 줄 알아요.
Because he must learn how to control his desire wanting to have the ice cream. He should learn it too.
아빠가
Oh, Dad.
아빠가 안 된다 했어.
Your dad said no.
이제 뭐 7, 8살 아빠 싸울 수 없죠.
He was only 7, 8 years old. He cannot fight with his father, right?
먹고 싶어도 참는.
He wanted to eat, but he would.
그래서 아이스크림 사주고 다
He's very
사달라고 사주는 게 아니고
So I wouldn't just buy it all the time they ask me.
10번 사달라.
If they ask me 10
다
times,
사주고
I'll buy it for them,
3번, 4번은 안 사주는 거예요.
but I'll miss 3, 4 times
자제하는 법을.
in order to teach them how to have the self-control.
제 아들이 미국에서 고등학교를 다녔는데
When my son was going to the high school in US,
17살 된 미국은
in US, if you're 17 years old, you can have your driver's license.
제가 차를 사줘야 하는데
He needed a car.
죄송합니다.
I'm sorry.
돈이 많지 않아서
I didn't have much money.
제일 싼 차가 뭔가 찾아봤어요.
I began to look for what was the cheapest car.
에스코트 칸 차 알아요?
Do you know the car named Escort?
제일 싼
It
차예요.
was one of the cheapest car back then in
난
US.
아이들 전부 다 아버지가 사장의 부자니까 BMW가 좋은 차 사주는
Other students, because their parents were rich, they'll buy them some DMW and DMW, some nice cars.
에스코트 사줬어요.
But I bought Escort for my
아버지
son.
감사합니다.
But my son still said, "Oh, Dad, I thank
그리고
you."
이제 딸 아이들은 이제 차를 타고 보통 이제 차가 생기면 행동 반경이 멀어지니까
Because when the young people, when they have a car, they can move. They can travel to a far place, right?
이제 멀리 가요.
So they tend to go longer, and they tend to go further, and they would go to skiing.
그래서 스키장 가는데
They would go skiing.
이제 토요일 날 가서
They would go there on Saturday.
하루 종일 스키 타고
They'll ski all day long.
그래서 월요일 학교
They'll come back Monday morning.
제 아들 스키 타고 싶어도
And my son wanted to go skiing too,
못 가요.
but he couldn't.
제가 교회에다 넣어놨어요.
because I put him in the church.
교회에다 방 하나 줘가지고
Because there was an empty room in the church.
밥도 먹고
So he was eating there, living there, sleeping there. He would clean the church.
주일날 예배
And he
준비하고.
would take part in the worship on Sunday.
제 아들 스키 타러 가고 싶은데 못 가고.
He wanted to go skiing, but he couldn't because he was in the church.
아이들은 이제 스키 타러 너무 재미있었어요.
And his friends would go skiing and they would enjoy it.
토요일 갔다가
They'll go there on Saturday,
토요일 와요.
they'll come back on Monday.
그다음 토요일 갔다가
But next time they go, they'll go on Saturday, but they'll come back on Tuesday.
수요일 와요.
But later they'll come back on Wednesday.
왜?
Why?
그 아이들은 부모들 아이들에게 자제력을 가지.
Because for those kids, their parents did not teach them how to have the self-control. That's why.
자동차는 엔진만 있는 게 아니라
You know, in a car, we don't only have engine, but we also have the brake.
우리 삶 속에 엔진 하고 싶은 욕구만 있는 게
In
아니라
our life too, we shouldn't only have the desire wanting to do certain thing, but we should also have the self-control, the brake. My son graduated from the high school.
졸업장을 봤는데
He got his diploma when he graduated from the high school. He opened this envelope.
졸업장이었어요.
There was this diploma in the envelope.
같이 갔던 스키 탄 친구들
But other friends of his who went to skiing, when they opened their envelope,
졸업장.
there was no diploma,
거짓말 졸업장 했다.
which means they couldn't graduate.
다음 학교 입학했다.
So they had to join there again the following year to finish their studies. So there are many Korean students who go to the US to study,
대학을 비율이 굉장히 낮아요.
but there are not many students who are able to graduate from. Why?
자제력이 없어. 시하고 싶은 대로.
Because they don't have the self-control, that's
아이들
why.
마약을 배우고.
Some kids, they learn to take
어떤 아이들은
drugs.
뭐 술도 마시고.
Some students, they learn to drink.
하여튼 그러면서 굉장히 타락을.
As that happens, there are many young people getting
자동차 엔진
corrupted.
비어서 자제력하는 굉장히 필요해요.
So in a car, like, as the engine is important, the brake is also important. When they're only 7 and 8 years old,
조그마한 자제력을 가르치면
if you teach them how to have the self-control for small
자기가 꼭
things,
하고 싶은 것도 안 하는 거.
even the thing that they want the most, they should learn to control
하기
it
싫은
too.
것도 하는.
And also they should learn to do things that they don't want
그런
to
교육을
do.
받아 놓으면
If they take that kind of education,
굉장히 중요해요.
their life gets very important and easier.
저희들이 주로 이제 IYF에게 가르치는 학생들에 가르치는 교육이
So what we teach in IYF for the
첫
students,
번째 사고력,
the first thing that we teach is the ability to think. The second thing is the self-control.
세 번째 교류.
The third thing is the ability to interact
이거
and
세 가지만
communicate.
배워놔도
When they learn these three
인생
elements,
격상이 굉장히 위로 올라가요.
this would bring about a lot of qualities to their lives.
자제할 줄 모르는 사람들이
Those who cannot control themselves,
마약에 빠지고
they'll fall into drugs, they'll fall into alcoholism, they'll fall into video games.
자제를 해본 사람들은
But those who have controlled themselves
쉽게
before,
자제를 할 수 있는데
they can easily have self-control
자제
and they
안
can
하는
bear.
학생들이
But those who have not have
자제를 해야 하는데 하면서
those who do not have the self-control, they know I have to stop here, I have to stop here, but they'll keep on drinking, they'll keep on playing games, they'll keep on taking drugs.
이런 이야기는 실제로 이제 쉬운 건 초등학교 때부터 조금씩 가르치면
If they start that from the elementary school, it's easier to learn.
제 손녀가
I have a granddaughter.
재작년에 트럼프 대통령상을 받았어요.
Last 2 years, she got a prize from President Trump.
어떤 출판사에서 어린이 잡지사에서 그 손녀에게 물었어요.
From one magazine for kids, they had an interview with my
너는 어떻게
granddaughter.
대통령상을 받게 됐냐?
How were you able to receive this prize from the President
손녀가
Trump?
뭐라고 말한지
You
아세요?
know what my young granddaughter said to the interviewer?
아빠는
That she said to the
하나님
interviewer
시키는 그대로 해요.
that my dad does exactly his told from his grandfather.
오빠는 우등생이었는데
My brother, he studies really
나
well,
우등생 못했어.
but I couldn't be a good student
오늘
before.
아빠가 나한테 선영아
But one day, my dad told me, 선영,
너도 오빠처럼 열심히 공부하면
if you study as hard as your older brother, you can be a good student too.
아빠는 할아버지 시키는 그대로 하고
My dad he does everything that he's told by my
나도
grandfather.
아빠 시키는 그대로만
So I try to do exactly I'm told by my father,
우리
she
반
said.
전교에서 1등을 했고
So she got the first place in her school.
상을 받을 수
She was able to receive this prize from the President Trump.
이야기를 했어요.
That's what that was her experience that she
제가
shared.
너무 기뻐서
And I was so pleased with that.
손녀 대통령상 받은 상장을
And the certificate that she received the President Trump,
칼라 복사기로 30장을 복사했어요.
I made a photocopy of it and I made 30 copies of it.
그래서 하나씩 우리 아는 사람 주려고 그랬는데
And I put it in the picture frame wanting to share them with people that I know.
가만히 보니까
Well, later I thought about it.
손녀 자랑하는 거야.
If I give them this, prize, they will think as if I'm boasting about my granddaughter. So I just stopped. So I kept one in my son's house. I kept one in my house. And for the rest of it, I just put it in the storage.
사람이 사고한다는 게 굉장히 중요한 건데.
Having the ability to think, it's very important.
젊은 아이들 사고하는 게 싫으니까.
Many young people today, they don't want to think a
그냥
lot.
생각나는 그대로 움직이는 아이.
but they will just live according to their instinct.
이제 그런 것에 발전된 교도소를 가게 되고
If this continues, they have high probability of ending their life in prisons
도박꾼이 되고
and ending their life as an alcoholic or game addict or
그런
drug
유혹은
addict.
누구나 다 받아요.
Everybody can be tempted,
그래서 브레이크가 좋으면
but if you have a good brake,
빨리 가는 차도 딱 세울 수 있어요.
even a fast car can
내가
stop.
제약으로 빠질 때
When you're
이
tempted to fall into sin, when you're tempted to go to the crooked way, if you have a good brake,
있던 걸
you can
알면서도
stop. But certain kids, they know that it's wrong.
그냥 그 끌려가요.
They'll keep on going because they don't have the brake.
그래서 아이들에게 몇몇 가지만 가르쳐도
So if our student could learn just some elements, it will really bring about a lot of qualities to their lives. As I read the
예수의
Bible,
마음을 발견해요.
I came to discover the heart of Jesus.
제가 하나님에 감사한 게
I'm really thankful to the Lord
세계
because
많은 나라 대통령께서
many presidents around the world,
제가 있는 이 마인드 교육을 가르치달라고
they requested us to do this mind education in their
저희들 이제
countries.
교재도 다 했는데
So we have prepared our textbooks and we are ready.
필리핀은 교사들이 약 한 3만 명이 우리 이 교육을 받아.
In case of Philippines, about 30 teachers that have gone through our mind education trainings.
그리고 이제 그 대부분 나라에서 저보고 마인드 교육을 학교에 받아들이고 싶어서.
And there are many students where they want to accept our mind education program into
작년에
their
제가
curriculum.
그 2월 달에 남미에 갔는데
In February last year, I went to the Central and South America.
4개 나라에서 대통령께서 저를 보고 마인드 교육 해달라고 했어요.
From 4 countries, I met the president. They requested me to do mind education for their citizens.
이제 한 학급을 교육부 장관에게 나하고 일하도록 해주라고.
So I shared my project with them that if you could designate one person who can work with
한
us,
학교에서 1년 동안을 마인드 교육을 우리 같이 보게.
we asked them to pick a sample school where we can, run this mind education for 1 year.
1년 지난 뒤에 효과가 좋으면
After 1 year, if they figure that the effect is good,
전국에 있는 모든 학교를 이렇게 넓혀나가.
now they can expand it to the whole country.
근데 그 일을 위해서 마인드 교육을 이제 교사들에게 시켜야 한다.
So for that, we have to train the teachers as well with the textbooks too.
그래서 이제 코로나 때문에 지금 제가 해외 못 나가서
But because of COVID-19, I cannot travel as much. So
금방 이제 이 책이 되면 전 세계가 이 교육을 받아들일 거라고.
once the COVID situation is taken care of, we will be able to start this education
저희들이
worldwide.
한국에서 마인드 교육으로 교육시키는 학교를 만들었어요.
So in Korea, we built this school where we are doing this mind education.
에스와티니 공항 비서실장이 와서 보고
Chief Secretary of the King of Eswatini,
영국 왕실부의 학교보다 몇 배 좋다.
he visited our school and he gave his comment that this school is a lot better than the royal school in UK.
졸업이라는 장관이 있는데
There's one minister named Jorob in Cote d'Ivoire.
우리 학교 와서 뭐 깜짝
He visited our school. He was surprised.
코트디부아르 우리 교육을 받아들였어요.
And they also accepted our curriculum.
이번에 그 케냐에서 대통령께서 이제 앞으로 케냐 공무원 이 교육하게 해달라고 부탁을 하십니다.
We've also discussed with His Excellency the President of Kenya to continue this education for the civil servants in Kenya as well.
저희들이 교육을 할 수 너무 감사하고요.
I'm so thankful that we can begin this education for the jailers first.
기뻐하며 여러분이 교육을 받으면
I hope you enjoy this education, appreciate
교도소에
it.
여러분 가정도 화목될 거.
And this will not only improve your work
사람
area,
사람 사이가 좋아지게.
but this would improve your household and your relationship with other
나하고
people.
생각이 다른 대화를 하기 시작하고.
And you'll be able to communicate and talk to the people who have different thoughts, different opinions from you. You learn to understand others.
이렇게 이해를 받고.
And other people would also come to understand you if you have this mind education.
대부분 사람들은 이제 사고를 하지 않기 때문에 문제를.
Because most people, they face problems because they don't think
조금만 사고를
enough.
하면은
If they just learn to think a
이런
little
교육을
more,
받으면
if they go through this education,
케냐 장래도 굉장히 좋아질 것 같습니다.
I believe that this will bring much more things to
우리
Kenya.
케냐 대통령 만났을 때
Last time during our meeting with His Excellency the President Uhuru Kenyatta,
이야기를 했습니다.
we discussed and we shared our plan to work in
이번에는
Kenya as
케냐의
well.
모든 학생들이 이런 교육 받도록 하려고 합니다.
We are trying to all the Kenyan students to go through this mind
저희들
education
마인드
program.
전 세계적으로 모두 환영하니까
This mind education is welcome
교도소에는
all around the
제수한테
world.
굉장히 많이 달라졌어요.
So we also saw many inmates changing in prisons as well.
미국에는 채플린을 저희들 그 선교에서 많이 만들었는데
In US, we got this chaplain title.
미국에서는 그 교도소 안에 재소자 가르치면은 우리 교육을 받은 사람들에게는
In US, for those who underwent our education in US prison,
범죄 그 기간을 줄여준다고.
they will reduce their sentence.
어떤 교육 받은
For those who have gone through our education program,
이제 그 범죄를 감해 준다.
to reduce their sentence by 10 days for those who have taken our education program.
상당히 저희 교육하기 좋아졌어요.
So many people, they appreciate our education in the US too.
앞으로 그 재소자들이 그런 이제 혜택을 주고
So as we give this
공부할
benefits
수 있는
to
배울
the
수 있는 그런
inmates,
기분을 올려주면
and if they have more benefits through getting this mind education,
사람은 나쁜 사람 되는 것도 잠깐이고
you know, being a bad person, that's temporary.
좋은 사람 되는 건
Being
잠깐이고
a good person too, that's
마음이
temporary.
어떤 생각을 하고 있냐 그게
It
중요해요.
just depends on what thought you settle down in your heart.
교도관 여러분들에게 이런 교육할 수 너무 감사합니다.
I'm so thankful to launch this mind education for
이런
the jailers
교육이
in
교도소뿐
Kenya.
아니라 케냐 시에도 그리고 아프리카에도 전 세계에도 귀한 축복이 되는 계기가 되기를 바랍니다.
Not only in Kenya, not only in prison, but I hope that this will bring about a lot of blessings in Kenya as
일단적으로 모든
well.
아이들이 어릴 때부터 자세력을 배워야 하고
First of all, it's possible. I want all the people when they're young, I want them to learn self-control
자제 그다음에 사고력
and the ability to think.
그다음 세 번째로 교류.
And thirdly, the ability to
이
interact
세
and
가지만
communicate.
배우면
If they could be equipped with these three
굉장히
elements,
좋아집니다.
their life would be improved
저희가
better.
IYF를 하면서 굉장히 많은 청소년들을 바꾸었습니다.
As we did this IYF, we changed the lives of a lot of young people.
우리 케냐 대통령께서 이 교육을 전부 해달라고 그러셨는데
His Excellency President Uhuru Kenyatta, he also asked us to carry out this education in Kenya.
본격적으로 하고
And once Corona is over, we would like to carry out this actively
저희들이
in Kenya as
한국에
well.
와서 제 고위 그 급에 있는 분들 많이 교육을 하려고 합니다.
We're also trying to invite the dignitaries in Kenya to also come to Korea and visit us so that we could have the training course for them too.
네, 작년에 저희들이 그 코트디부아 사람들 와서 교육을 받았는데
Early last year, we had some people coming from Cote d'Ivoire for this training
3개월
course.
교육을 받고 하기로
They
했는데
were supposed to take this program for 3 months before they go.
그래서 그 정말 코로나 때문에 비행기가 안 떠요. 6개월 동안 있었어요.
But last year, the Corona situation broke out and they stayed in Korea for 6 months.
어떤 사람 여자 선생님이 와서 임신해 가지고 한국에 애기 나가갔어.
There was some female teacher who came, but she was pregnant back then, but she gave birth to the baby in Korea. And she really appreciated the Korean hospital too when she
앞으로
came.
여러분 저 애기나 힘들면 한국 와서 나와서요.
Anyway, so later, if you want to join our program, if you're still pregnant, you can come to Korea too.
케냐와 더 가깝게 되기를 바라고.
I hope to get closer to Kenya.
교도관 여러분 정말 수고 많이 하시는데
And I know you're all working hard for your
늘
country's
이게 범죄자면 대한다고 생각하지
future.
말고
Do not just think that you are dealing with inmates or
가족들
criminals,
사랑하는 마음으로 일하시면
but if you could work having the love for them,
행복하고 복될 줄 믿습니다.
this will bring about happiness and blessings in your life as well.
오늘 이렇게 갑자기 제가 시간 많이 했는데
We got this, lecture
교도관 여러분
today.
만나서 이렇게 하게 된 건 너무 감사하게
I'm so
생각하고
honored and grateful to be in front of you today.
케냐에 저 현재 교도 일하고 있는 우리 그 김기성 목사는
We also have this Dr. Ki-sung Kim who's working for prisons in
그
Kenya.
사람도 살인죄로
He
연루돼가지고
was once involved in murder
16년
before,
동안 교도소 살았어요.
and he was stayed in prison for 16 years as
이제
well.
마지막에 나오기 전에
But
저희들 만났고
But before being discharged, he met us in prison and he was transformed.
아이와부터 변화되는 굉장히 많은데
There are many people who are transformed
그
throughout.
많은
Yeah.
마음에서 범죄율이 줄어듭니다.
And when they meet us, we can see how the crime rate falls radically.
감사하고
I'm so grateful about this.
여러분들이 케냐 시민들을 평안히 잠자게 하는 분들입니다.
So you are the people who help the Kenyan citizens to sleep in peace.
정말 교도관 생활하시면 교도소에 있는 재소자 잘 인도해서
As a jailers in prison, I hope you lead the criminals well,
여러분 정말 케냐 모든 시민들 평안한 마음으로 잠잘 수 있도록 해주시기를
so
바라겠습니다.
that all the citizens in Kenya could sleep peacefully.
하나님의 축복이 여러분
peacefully.
모두에게 넘치기를
May
바라겠습니다.
God's blessing overflow in all your households.
기도하겠습니다.
Let me close by prayer.
걸어가신 하나님 아버지 앞에 감사합니다.
Heavenly Father God, we thank you.
케냐를 위해 수고하는 교도관 모든 분들에게 은혜를 베풀어 주시고
Please bestow your grace upon all the officers who are working hard for Kenya.
교도관의 마음이 재소자에게 흐르고
Let the heart of our jailers flow into the heart of
마음이
inmates.
흘러서 같은 마음을 가지고 산다면
As our heart flows one another, if we could have one heart,
또 친구가 됩니다.
we believe that even our enemies could be our
케냐를
friends.
복되게 해주시고
Please bless Kenya.
아름다운 나라 만들어 주시길 바랍니다.
Please make Kenya into a better and more beautiful country, a country of beauty, a country of
이
peace.
수고하는 교도관들을 축복해
Please
주시기
bless all the jailers who are hardworking.
감사합니다.
We thank you, Lord.
예수님 이름으로 기도합니다.
In Jesus' name I prayed.
아멘.
Amen.
여러분 대단히
Thank you
감사합니다.
very much, everyone.